Hello, my name is James Nicholas, and I'll be representing our behavior change consulting firm today who want to win the bid to implement our intervention into your retirement home for your residents. We have created this physical activity intervention based on the self-determination theory with the goal of increasing the activity levels of residents by educating them and helping them understand the positive relationship between physical activity and their health. So first things first, what is self-determination theory? Self-determination theory relates to competence, which is the need to be effective and confident in one's environment, autonomy, which is the need to be able to have choice, and relatedness, which is the need to belong and have close relationships. Now, when all of these are used, they come together to increase an individual's motivation. So what do we currently know? We know that intrinsic and extrinsic motivations equal high adherence to physical activity. We know that when psychological needs are met, we'll see an increased motivation to participate in physical activity. And we finally know that self-determination theory-based motivation increases exercise habits. Now, what are the gaps in the literature? Well, we know that there's minimal research on older adults living in institutionalized settings, so like retirement homes, and individuals over the age of 80. We know that it's difficult to generalize the findings due to the diversity in race, ethnicity, gender, and age, and we also know that frequency rate to generate positive change in physical activity levels long term is difficult to determine. So here we have an overview of our intervention. I'll first talk about what a workshop looks like for our leaders. Then I'll discuss how we're actually going to be promoting our exercise programs, following that up by discussing what a typical schedule will look like. Then I'll be talking about how we're actually applying self-determination theory to our intervention, and finally look at the feasibility and expected outcomes of our intervention. So we have our leaders participate in a workshop to teach them about two things: the concepts of self-determination theory and how to effectively communicate with older adults, and the self-determination theory communication strategies that focus on behavior change. So we would put up posters all around the retirement home to promote our fitness classes. Now, a key thing that I wanted to point out is that we're promoting both males and females, as well as different races, to try to close one of the gaps in literature relating to the lack of diversity in gender and race. The schedule for our intervention will be a 3-month program consisting of 30-minute sessions offered morning and afternoon, available 7 days a week. Each session will consist of 2 separate sections: a walking section and a chair yoga and water bottle exercise section. Now, in our schedule, we also have Family Day every Sunday to promote relatedness. Now, a key thing I wanted to point out about our schedule is that we're promoting autonomy because we're providing the residents with lots of choices. So here we have a few examples of chair yoga exercises as well as water bottle exercises. So again, you can see that we have a variety of choices for the residents to promote autonomy. And as well, in order to be feasible, we have decided to use water bottles rather than weights because they're a lot cheaper and are easier to get. Next, I'll be explaining how we're actually going to be applying the self-determination theory. So we're going to increase competence using communication-based strategies and allowing residents to pick the exercise they feel most comfortable doing. As leaders, we'll provide assistance if needed and ensure that residents feel secure. We will also demonstrate and thoroughly explain the exercises, but also provide the residents an optimal challenge. We will regularly share results with the residents and provide them with goals and plans. Now, to increase autonomy, we'll use things like feedback surveys and giving the residents a variety of choices. We will provide the residents with meaningful rationale, but also acknowledge their feelings, perspectives, opinions, and feedback. Finally, we'll increase relatedness through, as previously discussed, a family day every Sunday, socializing with participants, but also using communication-based strategies and building rapport between leaders and residents. Before starting our intervention, we will use the physical activity scale for the elderly, which will assess the types of activities normally chosen by older adults. This will examine the frequency, duration, and intensity level of an activity over a normal week. Now, during the intervention, we'll use a behavioral regulation and exercise questionnaire to determine the stages of the self-determination continuum in relation to motivation of exercise. Now, we will also be asking residents specific questions relating to physical activity. These questions will occur before exercise, during exercise, and after exercise, as well as in our exit interviews, which will occur after the 3-month intervention has been completed, which will consist of questions relating to the residents' experience during the intervention, and as well as what the residents did not enjoy about the intervention. We have decided to use communication-based strategies because there is a positive correlation between them and physiological need satisfaction and promotion of health. Now, we know when we use motivational adaptive strategies, they will not only encourage physical activity, but they'll also promote autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So when we listen to the residents, we know that body language, facial expression, and energy will help to encourage them, but also provide them feedback and support. When we answer the residents' questions, we start to understand their goals and expectations, but we'll also develop a stronger relationship with them. When we provide them explanations relating to exercise, as well as feedback, using praise and relatedness, that will also contribute to motivation and competence. And finally, using physical activity structuring, it provides residents with opportunities to make decisions about the exercises they can perform or participate in. Behavior change techniques have had minimal impact in many interventions due to there being very little research on them and it still being unclear which ones are most effective. Research does show, however, that face-to-face interventions and follow-up interviews can be very useful. So with that being said, exploring this method could be a potential contribution to current research. Our intervention is feasible for the following 3 reasons. It can be easily done because no new equipment is needed. It is very cost efficient because the tools that we are using are chairs and water bottles. And lastly, our intervention can decrease health risks and therefore medical costs. Finally, the expected outcomes for our intervention are as follows. When older adults are given meaningful and appropriate explanations to how beneficial physical activity is for their health, we'll see an increase in their motivation to participate in physical activity. When we allow them to have input and make decisions about the physical activity they will participate in, that will increase their feelings of autonomy. When we give specific and meaningful feedback to older adults, that will increase their feelings of competence. And lastly, when we say things to older adults like "we can do this," will increase relatedness. On behalf of Kelly, Megan, Alexis, and I, we just wanted to thank you for your time and hope you consider choosing our intervention to successfully remove the barrier of lack of knowledge and understanding in older adults relating to physical activity and their health.